Big game coming up on Thursday night. When you look at this matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Chargers, the Chargers kind of spiraling right now. I never thought I'd see the Chargers in this kind of losing football, not streak, but, losing plays of football. Going against Minnesota Vikings, they are a 3-point favorite. So how do you see this one playing out?
I think these are two of the best coached teams in the entire NFL. Got massive respect for Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter and those guys over there. Obviously, it's not working. Got massive respect for Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores, but they're trying to win games with Carson Wentz. So it's a situation where I think both these teams are going to game plan and scheme themselves into the best position for them in this game. I don't think they're going to come out and shoot themselves in the feet, at least from a coaching perspective. But they're just extremely limited. The Chargers right now are on their 7th string tackle. I don't know how you're supposed to possibly compete at the NFL level with that. And then on the flip side, if Kevin O'Connell can't coach the stupid mistakes out of Carson Wentz, then I don't know who is going to. And there's talent in this game, obviously, like there's Justin Jefferson on the field. You got some defensive talent for the Chargers, but then you got major injuries. Amari and Hampton's not there. Like I said, the tackles aren't there. So both these teams of the Vikings have been on the seesaw, win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. Chargers have lost 3 of their last 4. Coming into the year, these are two teams that we looked at as legitimate playoff teams. In the Chargers case, maybe even looked at them as a fringe Super Bowl contender. And we're about 2 months into the season, and it's just been completely reversed.
Yeah, I think back to the opening night game when it was Chiefs versus Chargers, and you looked at how dominant Justin Herbert was, and you looked at, how much they dominated the Chiefs, and we were saying, like, the Chiefs' reign could be over right now, and we're just not even close to that thought process 7-8 weeks later. So I think Justin Herbert's got to do a better job protecting the football. We saw it last week. He did not protect the football. If you don't do that, you're not going to win games. On the flip side, the Vikings have to protect the football. But I right off the top, just, viewing this game, it's hard to coach up Carson Wentz, but I look at how hard the Minnesota Vikings played against the Philadelphia Eagles. Despite the offensive mistakes, they were still very much alive in that game. I think their defense can carry them, even if Carson Wentz is messing up consistently. And that's why I would probably lean towards their 3 points in this spot, knowing that the Chargers are just not playing well. And they've had plenty of moments to get right over the past few weeks. They just haven't been able to do it.
Also, last week, so in that Eagles game, the calling card of the Vikings is their outstanding pass defense. Jalen Hurts had probably the best deep passing game of his career. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith between them had like 320 yards or something. So great game there, but also a bit of an outlier. To what you were saying about Herbert, yeah, he needs to protect the football, but also he was put in an unwinnable position. The Colts took a 23-3 lead in that game. The Chargers down to Amari and Hampton. They weren't going to run the football. Herbert threw it 55 times compared to the team running 16 times. 6 of those were by Herbert. So you had 10 carries from running backs, 55 passes from your quarterback, 6 carries from your quarterback. So, yeah, Herbert needs to protect the ball, but in that situation, I really don't know how he was supposed to. He was going to get picked at some point because he had to throw on basically every play. So really, going back to the coaching point, I think the theme of this game is, can both teams keep the game how they want it to go? I think both teams want to possess the football. I think they would prefer these long drives, keep the other team on the field, and also just kind of paper cut your way down the field. I don't think either team wants to open it up and risk making mistakes, because a turnover could be what loses the game.
I mean, that's a really good point, too, that you make with him throwing the football so many times last week. But you just look at what he's done so far this season. Looked great against the Chiefs, looked good against the Raiders. Then it was a pick against the Broncos. Then it was 2 picks against the Giants, pick against the Commanders, 2 picks against the Colts. So he's got 6 interceptions so far this year. I need more efficiency out of Justin Herbert overall.
And that's understandable, too. That's fair to expect that from him, especially when your running back is out. You want your quarterback to step up and deliver for you.
Well, because he's not that guy. And I don't know why people view Justin Herbert as that guy, because he's not. He's
got incredible talent, but
he does, but he's not. He has not achieved full expectations of what we would think Justin Herbert with the rocket arm and the 6'5" frame can do in the NFL. I don't look at Justin Herbert as the guy ever. He doesn't even pop into my head when I think of top 10 quarterbacks,
He would be in my top 10, but he would be closer to 10th than those people who want to say this is clearly number 5. If the big 4 is Burrow, Lamar, Mahomes, and Allen, the people who say Herbert's clearly number 5, no, I can't say that.
When I think of top 10 quarterbacks, that he may be in my top 5 list, but I don't think of him top quarterbacks in the NFL. Justin Herbert never pops in my mind. I feel like he's just kind of there, he's just standing over there playing by himself in the sandbox.
Well, what I don't understand is, like, if you look at the way that Dak Prescott throws the football, he throws the football just the same way Justin Herbert does. The difference is Dak has been in some big moments in the playoffs, maybe not big moments, but he's been to the playoffs and he's lost big games. Herbert gets the benefit of the doubt. He's never won a playoff game in his career. So I don't understand why we say, okay, well, Dak got to the playoffs, won a game, and then lost, and that's a criticism. And when Dak throws interceptions, there's all the scrutiny. But then when Herbert does it, it's kind of like, oh, but man, he's so tall and he's got great hair and he can throw the ball 70 yards. And Herbert's the best.
Herbert in the playoffs last year, 14 to 32, 242, 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions. Is that his only playoff game of his career? Oh, no. Then he had the Jacksonville game.
Game.
That's a fun one that the Jags came back. I don't even know how the Jags came back and won that game, but that's another one where he wasn't bad. He wasn't very efficient, but he didn't turn it over.
He blew a 28-0 lead.
Did he blow it or did the defense blow it? He has to score. That's, he's just not a playoff quarterback. And maybe that's why I don't think about him like that. When I think of Dak, I think of the game where he retired Tom Brady, basically. So like he still has that big game in the playoffs, that big win, even though it was like a meaningless wild card game in Tampa Bay, really, because they just got smoked the next week, I believe. I'm not really sure. But, I don't think of Justin Herbert as that guy. So that's my fear of betting on him in this spot. I think the turnovers come in bunches with Justin Herbert. I think the Chargers are a team that they're obviously well coached and they're well schemed, but I just don't like betting on them one bit. I think there's a problem with Harbaugh. I don't think he's meant for the NFL right now, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Well, so this flows very well into my first player prop. I hope you don't mind here. I'm going to take Justin Herbert in this game under 251.5 passing yards. Nice. Kind of building off last week, when your quarterback throws it 55 times, doesn't really matter who you are or what you're trying to accomplish. You can say what you want about Harbaugh. You can say, is he going to win a Super Bowl or not? The question of, is he a smart dude? Does he know football? Yes, he knows football. And he knows you can't win games throwing it 55 times. So like I was saying, I think on one hand, the Chargers are trying to restore balance to their offense. On the other, I think the Vikings are trying to call offense in a way that limits Carson Wentz's potential for interceptions. So I think you see a spike in the running game for both teams. When the Vikings are throwing, it's a lot of stuff that's close to the line of scrimmage, eat the clock. I just don't think there will be all that many possessions in this game. And on top of that, the Vikings do have probably the best pass defense in the NFL, even though Jalen Hurts had a very good game last week. But a lot of that stuff was ad-libbing. A lot of that was broken plays. Hurts taking the big shots, and he deserves credit for it. But I'm saying Minnesota's defense won the initial play, and then Hurts made something happen after it. So I think Herbert, coming to what you're saying, maybe a slow day here.
The quarterback situation is really interesting in this game. I do like that. I think the Vikings are going to emphasize the defensive side of the ball. They have to be able to do that. They have to be able to pressure Herbert and make him, force him into mistakes. I don't think we have an interception line yet here, do we? Yeah, we do. Justin Herbert interception. Yes, plus 100. I'll take him to throw an interception in this football game. I think he's going to be much more efficient than he was last week, but I'll take him to throw an interception considering he's done that let's see here. How many games, Grant? We've done it in 1, 2, 3, 4 of 7 games. I will take him to throw an interception here against one of the best defenses in the NFL, one of the best defensive minds in the NFL with Brian Flores. On the flip side, I'd probably be leaning towards a Carson Wentz interception too if it was posted. But J.J. McCarthy may be in the lineup for this game. We really don't know the status of the starting quarterback. How much is that playing into your thought process in this game?
I view them as Eagles, essentially. I don't think either one of them is going to win the team the game. I know JJ did play a big role in his team coming back to beat the Bears on opening night, first start of his career, but I don't look at him as a guy who's going to make those winning plays. I also look at both of them as somebody who might throw for $170 and 2 interceptions. I think they both have it in them. So really, it doesn't change how I view this game.
No, I agree with that. I'd probably rather have Carson Wentz in there, though. I'd rather have the veteran.
Right now, I would probably have Wentz as well. Yeah.
J.J. McCarthy coming off an injury against the Chargers is probably not going to be a good situation for anyone involved with that. Again, we don't have a ton of props up right now, guys, but, Grant's going with the Justin Herbert under the passing yards. I'll take him to throw an interception. My next play here, I am going to go with Ladd McConkey over 55.5. I'm still going to take Ladd over. You look at Ladd, he's been very good this season. He's been one of Justin Herbert's favorite targets, obviously. 37 receptions, 380 yards, coming off a game where he had 67 last week against the Colts, was targeted 15 times by Justin Herbert. That was the most of the year. I expect that number to obviously drop down, especially if the Chargers can find a way to run the ball here. He had 7 catches for 100 against Miami. 3 games before that were not great, but they're starting to get the ball to him a little more here. Big plays, obviously, we saw against Miami when he was able to take that ball all the way down the field late in the game to set them up for a field goal here. So I think they're going to keep getting the ball to McConkey, send him over the receiving yards.
Give me Justin Jefferson over 79.5 receiving yards. He had exactly 79 last week. I know the Chargers defense has been really good for the last year and a half. However, obviously some struggles last week. Daniel Jones was covering them up. The Colts offense, man, I actually picked the Chargers over the Colts last week. That was one of my biggest mistakes of the week. I said I need to see the Colts prove it against a good team with a good defense, and boy, did they ever prove it. I don't care really if Wentz or McCarthy, whoever's playing, has a slow day. They're going to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. Like, that's what we know about this dude. Over the course of his career, the best quarterback he's had is Kirk Cousins. He's had Nick Mullins. He's had Josh Dobbs. He's had Wentz. He's had McCarthy. He always produces, always puts up numbers. Currently 6th in the NFL in receiving yards. Again, 79 last week, 123 the week before that, 126 the week before that, 75 and 81 in the 2 weeks before that as well. So Justin Jefferson's going to get the ball. Chargers did just get carved up. I don't think it's going to be difficult for him to, we saw him take a screen pass 40 yards last week. He can beat you over the top. He can do everything. It's never a bad time to bet on Justin Jefferson.
What do you think about Justin Jefferson under 5.5 receptions? This is an interesting line in this game because he's only gone over twice this season. 10 receptions against the Steelers, 7 against the Browns. He had 5 last week against the Eagles, 5 against the Bengals, 3 against the Falcons, and 4 against the Bears. If you have J.J. McCarthy in there, obviously that was his game against the Bears. We had 4. I think this is a spot where I might want to go Justin Jefferson under 5.5 receptions for plus money, just because if I'm the Chargers, I'm thinking, how do I stop this football team? Obviously, you got to stop the run, but the one guy you got to account for in the passing game is going to be Justin Jefferson. He's going to get the explosive catches, but if you limit his touches and opportunities, you probably set yourself up pretty well to win. So I wouldn't mind taking a chance on that for plus money.
It could happen. It could work out where both of them happen as well. Because like you said, he's been getting a lot of explosive catches. That's been the difference. Wentz and McCarthy aren't that accurate. So I guess it's possible. It is. You kind of convinced me there. I'm still probably just going to take his over just because I don't want to take a negative correlation. But if I was looking for some fun, or like you said, maybe I've got another plus money pick that I'm confident that it's already lined up. So all you got to do is hit one of those 2, and then you walk away with a profit.
This is a situation where, for me, the quarterback matters, because if it's J.J. McCarthy in there, I don't want anything to do with Justin Jefferson. If Wentz is in there, we at least know he's going to get the ball down the field to him. He's at least going to take shots, and he's confident enough in his deep ball. And I think the coaching staff's obviously confident enough to let him throw the deep ball. With J.J. McCarthy, you're running the ball as many times as you can, and you're throwing on third down, and you're punting, and you're trusting your defense. So this is the situation where if I'm looking at receiver props for Justin Jefferson, I want to know who the quarterback is.
I'll give you one final pick here, and I don't know if I'm going to bet this one or not. Full transparency, I just like throwing out good value picks when I see them. And this anytime touchdown scorer for about plus 200, Arondé Gadsden, talented tight end out of Syracuse. He was a 5th round pick, but they loved him all throughout camp. You've seen him start to come into his own. Last week, he takes 7 catches for 164 yards and a touchdown. The week before that, didn't score, but he did have 7 receptions, 8 targets for 68 yards. So he's getting a high volume. And, if the Chargers do end up in a position similar to last week where they're having to throw the football, seems like he's quickly becoming one of Herbert's favorite targets.
I like that. Also, one final one for me here, Jordan Addison over 21.5 receiving yards. Jordan Addison's kind of that underrated guy that's good enough to be a solid wide receiver too. You just don't think about him as much with Justin Jefferson there, but had an 81-yard reception against the Steelers, had 15 against the Browns. Obviously, the Browns are an elite defense. And then against the Eagles last week, had a 34-yard reception, 12 targets, 9 receptions there, 128 yards. So Jordan Addison, just quiet, really good numbers when he is on the field. So I'll take Jordan Addison over 21.5 for the long reception.
And then it sounded like we agreed. We never talked about it, but are we both taking Vikings +3 here?
I am. I'd like to know the quarterback situation. I'll probably use this in a teaser somehow. I feel a little more comfortable doing that. I mean, we've seen it on Thursday night. The dogs have been money on Thursday night football. So I think this is another spot where the dogs can be money. The Chargers continue to spiral. And the biggest thing for me is we've had so many games where these favorites should get right. And I don't know if this is considered a get right spot. Like the Vikings gave the Eagles everything they could handle last week while turning the ball over and giving up 1,000,000 yards through the air. It was still a really close football game. But this is a spot where you would think the Chargers can get back on track. You thought
Yeah.
Miami was a spot where they could get back on track, which they found a way to win. It shouldn't have been like that close, though. So I just don't trust the Chargers right now. I think this is a spot where Minnesota gave the Eagles everything they had while playing bad. If they clean it up a little bit, they're in a really good spot.
Yeah, I'm with you fully.